Hello and welcome to DM&D Chat. Our first one officially. We had a bit of a snafu on last week's episode, but we are up and running and hopefully doing all well. Hopefully everyone can hear me out there in the chat. I'm seeing people in there. Hello there, folks. Yes, we are on a new Discord server, a new YouTube channel. So if you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to the channel there because it is a new one from what we had before. And if you're part of our Discord server, then great. We are growing our community, and we are growing our number of our games, our player base, and just our friends having chat and having fun. So please come and the link is in the description below there. You can jump in there and use that to join our server if you haven't already. And if you have, make sure you say hi and enjoy all of our fun little channels and everything else we have set up there. So. But yes, very fitting. We are talking about community today. And I want to focus on community both in game and out of game. So right now we are learning a lot about community, just as our Discord server is growing here, and how to work with the community, how to work with the people coming to join us, and how to get things moving along there, having events, having places for people to chat and share things. It's all really important to growing a community, but an online community is not the only place. We all kind of start our communities with a group of players, group of friends hanging out, playing games around a table, enjoying our time together, and one person typically being the DM, players sitting around there. And what will end up happening over time is that you find that you decide to have another game, maybe swapping up and having somebody else run the game. And because schedules are what they are, you might need to bring in some different people into the game. And so your community automatically grows into this newer, larger community with differing people on differing nights, different people running games. Maybe you're having board game nights. Maybe you're going out to movies together. And this community just grows and grows. It's what we have in our sort of our local game groups and our local friends, as you have that sort of small but ever-growing community. When you want to bring in new people, you can. There's a couple different ways to do that. You can uh, bring in friends of friends, family of friends, family in general, teaching them and getting them into the games that you're playing. And you just kind of grow that way. You can also, if you're just looking for brand new people, through various events. A lot of times your local game stores and uh, your local game stores will have like little boards where you can post different things and see post your game up there and asking for new players to join. They may have in-game in-store games running where you can join in and have a community growing that way as well. I know one of our local places here where I am, they have D&D Wednesday nights and Saturdays, where they basically just have people like show up there and play games in the coffee shop. They have lots of tables set up there, and so again, communities can grow into larger and larger entities, almost like an amoeba reaching out and pulling in more and more people here. Because that's part of what makes this hobby so fun, is that we can just bring in a lot of different people from a lot of different walks of life, a lot of perspectives, and just have fun playing games together. So when you're starting a new game, like you have your game, you have your core group of people there. When you're trying to maybe start a new game, consider switching up the roster. Consider, like, instead of having the same old people, bring in someone different, have a different roster for a different time. Especially if you have a new DM, maybe switching things up that way, where you have different people running the game, different people playing in the game. And that way your communities stay alive and kind of thriving because you have this mix of people that come and go. And so never every table is going to be exactly the same. So it helps to grow your community and your kind of sense of belonging with each other by having these multiple groups of people and different people in different games together. So I mentioned this a little bit briefly there, but growing your own, having friends and friends especially, but then who have never played before, who have heard about it and are interested in it there, bringing it in and teaching them, giving them a chance to try it out, maybe in a one-shot setting or a short campaign thing, and seeing if they like it there, and having family members. Right now, I am running a game for my 16-year-old and three of their friends who are all teens as well, and they're having a great time. So much so that they're starting to run games on their own Discord server, playing around and playing with them. And so it's again that community branching out and kind of finding their own niche and their own group of people to keep growing the hobby and having fun with them. So that kind of brings us to the online. Now, COVID had a really major effect on making us all go online to find games. You couldn't really get together in person anymore. So while our local game, we moved it to online and played it, but it also allowed us to. I'm now playing with friends from college, I see maybe once a year at a gaming convention, but you have this opportunity now to play with people that you haven't seen who live in different parts of the country, even different parts of the world, who are just extended friends, and your community grows into other places. And then we have things like our Discord server here, where now we have friends and people that have heard about the server. We bring people in, we started up games, we have different DMs, and we just have a whole community centered around playing games together, role playing games, and it could be yeah, games with uh, um, other systems, other like PC gaming and console gaming and all that. But our community here, the Temple Tankard, is focused around tabletop role playing games. And so as we grow, as we find more people who want to run and more people who want to play, the server just grows and grows from that point. Um, it's also really helpful to reach out to other servers and to other content creators and be part of a larger community. So you almost have like you're networking out there with other people. So now you may have people that are playing on multiple servers who come to your server to play a game, go there to play games. And it just means a wider and wider community, like a spider web kind of spreading out to other places. And so that just strengthens the community when you can have people from different places and people advertising content and games and opportunities for playing and chatting and being part of a larger community. It only helps as you try to grow and bring in more people. um, so that link to servers is something that sometimes be a little bit scary. People kind of come and go. But at the same time, if you're offering up a fun place to be and you're offering up a place where people are welcome, you're going to have a good community to work with here. And it's I think that we do. So even think about starting up your own, definitely reach out to other uh, other communities and see where you can share and spend time together and working on things. When you can have hosting games from other DMs and bringing in guests from other places, that's a really fun way to grow and advertise. So don't be afraid of that. So our out of game communities um, can grow and change over time. But that also gets reflected in in-game communities, in your role-playing games, in your settings, in your campaigns, especially those longer running campaigns. The only way to feel invested, one of the ways, sorry, not the only way, but one of the primary ways you can feel invested in a game is to have a home base, to have a network, to have a community of people, NPCs, shopkeepers, um, assist people that are helping you, followers, henchmen, all of these things that make up a community in game, help help your players latch on to the world and find their place in it. So taking the cue of the players. What do they find interesting? What do they like about a place? Maybe it's a favorite tavern. Maybe it's a town they frequent. It's kind of a good central hub of activity. Um, Maybe it's a shopkeeper they really like and they go do it to buy and sell goods with a specific shopkeeper. Maybe if there's a religious bent there, maybe it's temples and certain priests in those temples help the players out and they do jobs for the temples, and the temples um, have opportunity for the players to train and grow and learn and such. So all of those things, when you flesh those things out, you have an instant in-game community. So don't be afraid when a player says, "Hey, I like this thing," or you find them going back to that same shopkeeper. Flesh them out. Figure out who that shopkeeper is, what things they want to do, what connections they might have to other people. And so that's an opportunity for you to help not only with your players' interest, but also your own. It's world building. You literally are building a world based around what the players like, around a community for the players there, and spreading out from that point. So as players get more powerful, as those central hubs of their home base, their headquarters becomes more advanced, they start having like workshops and maybe they even start having followers and henchmen. Those are guards and such, or just friends that are there. Now your headquarters is more of a hub of activity. You can have those henchmen and helping you with resources. They can add things for your players to gain access to things they wouldn't normally have. Um, they can also provide like crafting. If you have henchmen that are into do crafting, obviously in game, if you don't have a lot of downtime and you're out doing stuff all the time, those henchmen, those followers can help you with crafting items for you, especially basic items that you wouldn't have time to do normally. So when you visit your headquarters, they can hand over more of these cool things for you, or at least show you the progress toward this thing that you're trying to work for. So those henchmen and followers can also provide you information. They can do research for you while you're out in the field doing things. When you come back, they said, "Hey, we found out this information." So using them as a resource for information is also really helpful. They can also provide plot hooks. Now, obviously, those henchmen, especially when you start fleshing them out into who they are, where they're from, what are their interests, what are their connections to the rest of the world, that provides opportunities for, well, maybe they get into trouble and need to get rescued. Maybe you're going out to recruit more henchmen to fill in gaps in the your roster that you don't have. Maybe you have to work to retain those henchmen and followers because if you aren't treating them well, they're going to go off somewhere else. They might even betray you if you're not treating them well. So, all of those things are plot hooks that allow your community to grow into the world and add more seeds of adventure. Um, a specialized kind of version of henchmen and followers are family. Family members can be obviously part of a community. If you're from somewhere else, those family members where you came from have a link to another community. And again, more plot hooks, more information, more resources from those family members if you have that resource available to you. So, thinking about your background for your characters and what their players have said, "Hey, I have this a brother who works in this city. He's a blacksmith." Then, well, let's go see this guy. Um, maybe he's got something that will help us out here, or maybe he can provide something for us. Or hey, while we're passing through town, let's stop in and say hi. And yes, maybe the DM will murder them. We hope not. Um, I I don't recommend it. Putting them in trouble, maybe them putting them at risk is one thing, but when you kill off people in a player's background, you lose that community link. You severed that tie that a character has with their backstory with the world. And so it's really an issue of when you do those things, they're going to have consequences. And they may be helpful in some ways, and in some ways they're not going to be helpful to the story. So really consider that when you start thinking about what to do with those connections that the players have. Um, yes, it can be used against the party. It can be used as a plot hook to drive them a certain direction there. But if you do that too much, players will start to resent it. I know I have in the past when my players, and to a degree, there's always that, but it's like this thing of like, I have I you start to realize why there's so many orphans in D&D because you don't have to worry about your parents getting in trouble. But that's another story. But it is something there. But again, it is an opportunity to provide, like you're tossing the DM plot hooks, you're tossing the DM things that can be used there, and it's not always a bad thing. And again, it helps to drive adventures, which is again part of that community. Again, that community can be used as a way to help drive the story. Um, Sometimes that headquarters, that home base, that favorite shop, tavern, temple, whatever it is, that can be the driving force in a plot, in a scenario, in sort of adventure, like things that tavern owner needs resources, or a shipment for that tavern owner didn't make it to town and they need to find out what happened to it, or that tavern owner is supposed to be getting, like, needs someone to go pick up a shipment for them. Those again are just fairly simple adventure hooks, but they can drive you off into new areas to help out, and it will help strengthen that link with that NPC, with that organization or business. Say there was shopkeepers or anything else like that. Those people offer up a chance to drive the players in a new direction. So beyond that, maybe there's a group of people, a thieves guild, threatening that shopkeeper. Maybe there's an army threatening the entire town that the people have set as their home base. Now you're talking a much larger, much more epic situation where there's a threat to the town the players need to help defend. Again, a big, uh, and not only if they are successful in getting rid of that threat, they are now making themselves a larger, more integral part of the community. And so that again just helps drive those connections and helps make the players feel more a part of the scenario, of the adventure, more part of the world. Because now they're having an effect on the world. Community is all about making connections and making a a way to drive adventures forward, to move things forward. And when we're talking about out of game communities, the same thing. The connections we make help us make more of a chance to have play games, to have those great interactions, to have that fun time talking and hanging out and playing games of all different kinds. So our communities are what make our games, well, what they are. They, without them, we're just playing a line. We're playing solitaire with a deck of cards. You start bringing in more people, that becomes a much bigger, more fun activity. Hopefully. So I see some people are out there in chat. Uh, um, I think that we have a pretty small group in here today. But if you're just popping in and saying hi, or just in there, um, throw some questions my way, some the things that you might want to know about, or things you might want to hear more on. While I'm waiting for a couple of questions, there, a quick little story here. Um, it is strange, like the, kind of the story of the tumble tankard, how it came about. I will say that I probably wouldn't have been a part of this if it wasn't for, there's a person sitting there in chat right now, Bernie. Um, Bernie's a longtime friend of mine. We are brown coats through and through. Another community that we were a part of. Um, the um, uh, Sometime a couple years ago, we were during COVID, and we were looking for. I'd heard about my friend there. We were chatting online, talking about games, and the opportunity came up to play in a game on a server that I wasn't a part of initially, with Bernie and some other people that she knew. And so I joined in. The game went up and down. We had a bit of a tumultuous time there. I will say one of the big issues with that game was what I was hinting at there, where you form a connection with the community, and the community gets not only threatened but wiped out. And so suddenly you have to go find another community. And that community got threatened and then wiped out. And so we never got a chance to really develop a link, to develop that connection. And we were connecting with each other really well as a party. We didn't get a chance to really connect with the world because it kept getting taken away from us. Um, Anyone with a backstory, it just got wiped out before we got to do anything with it. I literally had two people in my backstory, a rival and a longtime friend for my character, who were literally killed off camera by an event that like just happened. And so I never got a chance to interact with them. They never became part of the story. Um, and literally, that was just a chunk of my backstory I just had to toss away. So it was one of those situations where the community never got a chance to form. So when that game ultimately ended, through a crazy, uh, absolutely ridiculously large combat that took a long, long time, um, that when that game ended, I put forth the idea of running a game myself. And that's how Avarice started. A number of players jumped in and we started playing Avarice. And from that game and the DM for the other game started another game, the old server we were on decided to have start hosting more games. And slowly we started building our community, uh, um, building that community up there with other games and other DMs getting involved. And it grew up there into the point where it became a little bit maybe too unmanageable. And so we are now split off to our own primarily TTRPG server, with all of our games. And I believe we have what, I think 10 games now going, and some one shots planned and everything else. And I'm sure we'll have more on the horizon. But again, those yeah, exactly. Yeah, we rescued 100 people as a city that we were in was destroyed. Rolls like a series of survival checks. Oh, 78 of them didn't make it. Okay. Um, yeah, it was and the city, yeah, take them to a city, the city gets destroyed. I mean, like and none of those people we ever got to form a connection with. We tried. Like, I definitely tried. And those connections never got formed. Um, but to come back here to Temple Tankard, we are now split off to our own server with our own connections, our own setup here, and kind of having to sort of restart, start over building a community. And we had a good base to start with, but now we're looking to grow some more and to kind of help more people. We have 125 people on here now, with a chance to grow to create more games and more players. And so we're always looking to do that. And so um, that so again, that one connection I had with this one wonderful person turned into an entirely massive to now many games, um, and more and more and more coming. So again, work with your folks, work with your people to see what they want. Get those communities there, and if you have people who are interested there, provide a place for them, or at least help them get something started, because that's again going to build that community. Um, so no other questions coming in here yet. Um, are a smaller communities can be very tight as well. Like I said, playing with people I knew from college, and that server, that community is very tight knit. There's about maybe I want to say 20 or so people, that and we have a core group of like maybe six to eight like people that are playing games consistently, and then friends who are chatting and hanging out as well here. But that community is fairly tight there. It's not reaching out because it's doing what we want them to, what the owners of that community, it's what we wanted to do. We wanted a chance to reconnect with old friends, hang out and play games. Uh, so it's not really meant to grow, but it still formed a connection that we kind of lost track of for a good long time. And so it was really fun to find that connection again. Question. So, how do you find these communities? Well, again, if you are in a community like ours, um, when you come to us and you say, "Hey, I'm also a part of this other place," we can send out links and have places for people to find those links. And so people come to us and say, "Oh, I've got a server, or I play on another server over here. Can I post a link or invite people over there?" Absolutely. check it out. Find out if that works for you. As someone comes in, they may be looking for a game, and if we don't have one readily available, we start like seeing ways of getting games available. Or like I said, if there's something out there already, then we can say, hey, we don't have anything right now, or maybe you don't this doesn't work for you right now, but this other place does. And so um, it's a chance to really kind of sh- shop for a game and shop for a place to hang out. And you find a good place to hang out and just use as your home base. Again, your tavern. Um, then you have a chance to like use this as a home base there and then find other places to go to delve out into other servers, into other communities, to form links and partnerships there. Maybe you bring some people back to play a game here, maybe you bring some people there to play a game there, but that way you all have places to go and link up and find games to play. And um, not forming those connections is fine if your server doesn't want to. Like I said, my college gamer server there is very tight knit. It's a specific group of friends. And kind of my local game is very similar to that too. We're kind of all here, but when you're looking for something else, there like just going out there and trying it out and finding it, jumping to community and saying, "Oh, there's games available here to play. Let's check that out." Or there's opportunities to play test a system over here on this server. Then go try that out. And then hopefully you maybe bring some of them back to play in this place. So again, that little networking take pick and choose, almost like a smorgasbord of gaming opportunities and places to do things. It's out there if you look for it. And if you can't find it, then ask around. I guarantee somebody somewhere in the chat on a server that you're on will have an idea of where you might be able to come to go and find a game. Good question there. Are there things, some do's and don'ts about networking for D&D or role-playing games in general? You wanna be clear the types of games that are okay on your server. There's always gonna be communities where there are certain, styles of games or certain content of games that may not work for you, and so one of the things that we try to do on this server that help there is be very clear that there are certain topics of games that are not gonna be allowed, and just so people know when they come in here, what things, and I mean, you can imagine what those are. I won't get into that specifically, but the idea that when you come to a gaming place there, if you make it clear the types of games that you're going to run, the types of games you're going to allow to be run on your server there, that will help people find something that works. So I really think it's kind of important to establish that when you come into a server there, have your rules, make it clear what types of interactions are going to be okay in the chat rooms, what types of games are going to be run in the game rooms and such, and then just being clear that the leadership of that server there is involved and knows what they're doing. So I think having a good, strong leadership, having a clear guideline of what types of games and what will be allowed there is a really good thing when you're networking. Now, like I said, if you're in a closed server that you're not going to bring in other people in there, do what you want that you all feel comfortable with there. If you're all friends, this is just the way it is, then you don't need to worry about that. But as soon as you're networking to other servers there, you want to make that very clear. So it's a very good question there. And some other things, I think, if you want to network, then offering those chances for content creators from other servers promoting their stuff on your server. Again, that's a connection that's made automatically. So people come watch that content. Oh, hear about this place and come here, or either here you hear about that content and go there. And again, that networking there is really, really, really important. So it's definitely a do when it comes to networking if you want to grow. Um, and so I would say the opposite of that is if you don't want to bring in random folks to a server there, you want to keep it kind of closed there, then you're not going to want to do that, at least not to a large degree. Um, making invites available, making people feel welcome when they come in and they say hi. They hop into a chat room and introduce themselves. Then talk with them, find out what they're interested in, what they want to do, what they like. When they pop into a voice channel and they want to talk, make sure you're welcoming. Make sure you don't push them away. Make sure you don't make them feel that they're not welcome here. So again, if if you want to network, you got to make it make it a place that people want to come and hang out. So that's something you have to strive for and make sure that everyone's agreeing with. Not everyone's going to be extremely social, and no one's expected everyone to be extremely social. But making the opportunity is going to go a long ways toward being able to network with other places. Um, there's any other ideas from folks here? I mean, I know a couple people that are here in chat there are part of our leadership. So if you think of other things you can think of there, throw them up there and we can discuss them. Um, but let's see here. An experience we've had, and this is a little, yes, we'll come back to that one in just a minute here. So, something to keep in mind, kind of on the topic of being clear about your expectations. There is that sometimes people aren't going to agree. Sometimes people are not going to want to follow the guidelines, or they don't want to be uh, constrained by certain guidelines. They want to do what they want to do, and you have to be firm. You have to be clear. And if they cannot agree to those guidelines, then they need to move somewhere else. And that's something that's difficult to deal with. I mean, because you don't want DMs especially to leave. They're going to take their players with them, and that hurts the community. And so you need to make sure that your guidelines are clear. You need to make sure that your guidelines are arrived at through like a consensus. If you have a leadership council and you have people that are running games, involve them all in the process of setting those guidelines. And if the guidelines need to change because of certain situations arise, involve them as well. It goes a long ways toward forming a stronger community when you have just if you have just the leadership saying do this and nobody else has any feedback into that process, it's going to weaken the community. And it's going to make it harder for those situations when they arise. And the larger your community gets there, they are going to arise. There are going to be differences of opinions, and you need to work toward finding a resolution of that. If you can't, then saying goodbye is a tough thing, but it's best for both communities. If you can't find that this is not working for you, moving somewhere else will, then okay. Um, that's just the way things go. They don't always work out, and we don't always get along as we try to, but you're not always going to. So don't be afraid that if you just can't come to consensus, can't come to an agreement there, that amicably saying goodbye and letting people move where they need to do there may work. It works out best for you. And making it clear what's going on, making it clear what the situation is, so that people are going, "Hey, what's happening? What's happening?" And remember what's happening. It's you end up with drama, and you can't avoid it with a large group of people. There's going to be some drama here and there, but whatever you can do to lessen that and lessen the impact of it is going to strengthen your community and keep it from falling apart. Um, so, question comes up here: should you use create events to bring in more people? I think so. I mean, when you get a chance to, if you have a place where you can promote content, and you have games, maybe some crazy little one shot you're doing there, and you want to promote it and try to bring people in from other places, that can definitely be a good creative event. Having game nights where you're playing like maybe online board games or Among Us or whatever else that chances for people to kind of come in and interact with folks in a different way than a role playing game is often a good way to bring in some people and give people a chance to do some different things. We haven't used it yet there, but we do have plans for doing a watch party channel where people can hop in and watch shows or movies together. We call it the theater. And we will be planning some events around that where people can um, just hang out and watch movies and or shows or whatever else that we I know at one point in our last word there we were having Firefly nights. I mean, watching some episodes of Firefly. We watched Arcane, great series on Netflix there, and um, just a chance to hang out and do something like a fun shared experience there, and that might bring in people that you didn't expect. They have their something into it there. and then you have a chance to really be a part of a shared experience, and that's going to again grow the community as well. So that's a great idea. To use those kind of creative events, things that are beyond just a straight up campaign. Because I'll say campaigns are amazing and wonderful, and I love them when it comes to TTRPG campaigns. But you can only really engage with so many people at a time. You hope that people are watching and enjoying or being part of a larger community around the game that you're running. Um, but the chance you have to engage with different groups of people is difficult with a campaign setting because again you have your core group of people and you might have some changes here and there, but it's still very limiting in how many are interacting directly uh, with each other. So it's something to keep in mind that that's where a chance that getting creative and having more of one shots based around themes, one shots based around different systems, are a great way to grow and expand and offer up opportunities for people to have fun and become part of the community, a more active part of the community. Any other questions coming up here? Let's see here. So we might run a little shorter today. That's fine. This is our kind of our growing pains getting back in here to our 21st DM&D. Um, and again, we're still sort of again rebuilding our community. Our YouTube channel is took a big hit because we are no longer part of the same channel we were before. So if you can get this out to folks there to check things out and join our community, get them to subscribe and get the word out there. Again, this is social media can be a big part of our community. Um, so if you do have content you're creating and are putting it out there for folks there and getting a chance to advertise it in other places, um, again, the the larger community can be just beyond just a Discord server. You can have Facebook groups, you can have Twitch streams, YouTube streams like we have right now, and that's also a way to grow your community. So um, do appreciate everyone watching, being a part of this, and you're watching in the future. Thanks for checking in, and feel free to comment on the video. Sending out, I'm always looking for suggestions or requests for topics in these, and you'll see in the YouTube channel we have a playlist there with all the past topics we've covered there, from everything from world building to creating encounters to um, best the different types of players and how to engage with players and such. There's a lot of different topics in there, but if there's something you want to expand on or get more detail about, then put a comment here in the chat there. You can message me on Discord. You can definitely jump in there. You want to drop something into the suggestion box on our channel. We can take the suggestions in there as well. So anywhere you can anywhere you if you're watching this in the future, there any suggestions you have will help with more content in the future. So we're gonna wrap things up a little bit early then. I want to thank you all for being here. Thank you for watching in the future there. Our Discord server is in the description below on the video there, and we'll be back in 2 weeks with another episode of DM&D. I hope that you guys have a great evening and a great time with whatever games you're playing in now or in the future, or if you're planning to do new things, consider us to play the place to host it. We'll definitely help you out with that. So take care, everyone. Thanks, and as always, thanks for hanging around the